Hello, I'm Julie from the Spellbound Bead Company, and today I wanted to show you how to make this very simple and right on trend fruity necklace. I've made little apples from some round glass beads and some little leaves, and I've made a necklace and a pair of really dinky earrings to go with it, but you could use the same technique to make a bracelet if you prefer. I hope you'll join me. It doesn't take long and it's great fun to wear. I've got together the beads for my apple necklace and earring set. I've got some little leaves. Now they're a very pretty little leaf. These happen to be made in plastic, but they're the absolutely perfect colour and size to go with my apple beads. And the important thing is that the hole runs across the top like that, so when we assemble our apple we see the full effect of the leaf and not the side of the leaf like that. My apple beads are 8mm opaque red glass beads. These are check beads, really nice quality, and I'm going to use 7 for the necklace, and I've got an extra 2 to make a matching pair of earrings, and I've got a 6mm round check glass bead that will be my clasp bead, and I've chosen it to match. Now my stringing for the necklace itself is going to be in this nice chocolate brown seed bead, which I rather like because it looks a bit like the colour of the bark on an apple tree, but I think equally a gold or a silver seed bead would work, or perhaps a white or a cream. Now I've prepared my needle with about 1.8 meters of single thread, and I'm going to put a keeper bead a distance from the end. Now that distance is going to be about 35 to 40 centimeters, and I'm just going to tie a simple knot, and there's my keeper bead held in place on a temporary knot which I can remove later. Now I've put it a distance from the end like that, so I can concentrate on doing the centre design first for my necklace, and then I can run out to both sides with the right amount of seed beads to make my design up to the right length for my neck. So I'm going to start here and go through to about here to make my centre design. I'm going to start with a couple of seed beads just to get me going. So I've got 3 seed beads there, and I'm going to put on 1 leaf on its own. That helps to blend the central feature into the main strand. And now I'm going to start my sequence. I'm going to put on 11 seed beads. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now these are size 10 seed beads. You could use size 11 if you prefer, but I'm going to use size 10, and I've got 11 beads there. I now need 1 bead for the stalk. Sorry, that's Indy who's barking there. It's nearly her dinner time. And I'm going to put on apple bead. I need a stopper bead for the bottom, so there's my stopper bead. I'm going to go back up through the apple, back up through the leaf bead and through the stalk bead. So you can see it's apple, leaf and stalk bead, and this single bead on the bottom is going to act as the anchor. Now I'm going to just hold it up so I can locate the next bead back along my sequence. Remember I put 11 beads on, so I'm on bead number 11, and I'm going to pass the same way through bead number 11 with my needle and pull up, and you can see that the thread is now pointing in the right direction to add the next apple, and I've got a little stalk and everything dangles neatly below that bead number 11. So let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's my spacers. 1 for the stalk, a leaf and an apple. I need an anchor bead for the bottom, and now we go back up through the apple, the leaf and the stalk bead. There we go, apple, leaf, stalk. You can see I've got a little bit of a gap there, so I just need to hold on to that seed bead at the bottom. So bring everything together. Don't make it too tight though, you want your little beads to dangle. Now I need to find that bead 11 again, and I pass forwards through it the way it was threaded before, and that again sits across the top of the stalk, and I've now got 2 apples on my strand. Now I'm going to add another 5 apples to make 7, and I'm going to add that little leaf as well, and then I'll be back to you. As you can see, I've been busy, so in addition to the 2 apples we had before, we've now got apples 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Then I put on 10 seed beads to match that gap there and put on a leaf, and I've continued out along the thread to add the next little bit of the sequence, which will go out towards the back of the clasp. So there's 15 seed beads and a leaf, 20 seed beads and a leaf, and then 20 seed beads, and actually that makes the necklace the right length up to the centre back if this one here is the centre front, which is the middle apple of the design. So now I can think about putting one end of the clasp on, and I'm going to put on the bead end of a bead and loop clasp. So I'm going to put on 1 seed bead, 1 6mm bead for my bead and loop clasp, and an anchor bead. Now I can put on another 3 beads, because that will make a nice picot or a little triangle at the end. So I've got my 3 seed beads there. I'm going to go back through that 1 seed bead, back through my clasp bead and the seed bead on the other side. And let's pull through, and you can see that's made a nice little picot on the end. Now I need to get the needle all the way back along to come towards my keeper bead so I can make the other side of the necklace. So I'm just going to hold everything up in the air, and that makes it easy to run the needle back through. You can just line the beads up in your fingers, just like that, and make sure you don't miss any, all the way back. I need to be careful when I get to the apples that I pass back through that bead number 11 and not the stalk bead. There we go, there's that bead number 11. If I stop there, you can see that that's sort of neatened up the top line there. So I'm going to continue passing on through, make sure I get that nice bead number 11. And already the centre of the necklace is feeling quite a lot firmer, because I've now got 2 threads going through all of these. So when I get to the keeper bead, I can then put on the remaining beads for the other side of the necklace. Nearly there. I've got to be really careful not to catch the knot around the keeper bead with the needle. And so I'm back to the keeper bead. Now that position is 3 seed beads past the first single leaf. So I need to put on the rest of this sequence, and then I'll be back to you to show you how to do the loop that will engage with the bead on this end. So I've replicated that sequence, as you can see. So everything matches up, and this is my centre front bead down here. And I'm now ready to make a loop that will engage with the 6mm bead on the other side of the necklace and complete the clasp. Now I'm going to make the loop with seed beads, and I know from experience that I'm going to need either 16 or 17 seed beads to make that loop. So I've threaded onto my string right up against the last bead of the sequence. I've got 16 seed beads there. I'm going to hold them in a loop, give them a little twist, and then that means I can test out my 6mm bead. You can see that's just about perfect. So I know 16 beads is right. Now you could put on a contrast seed bead if you wished, so you could see which was the first bead of the sequence, but I know it's that one there. So I'm going to pass through bead number 1 and 2 of the 16. That starts my circle, and then I'm going to go through 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on all the way around until I've been through all 16 beads. And that means I've got 2 thicknesses of thread through all of those beads, and that's going to make it twice as strong as one strand. Now I can come back down towards the centre front. What I want to do is come out alongside the original keeper bead. Make sure I don't catch the knot at the keeper bead. Right, so let's have a look what we've got. We have a necklace with 7 apples at the front and a bead and loop clasp at the back. We've also got 2 thread ends. Now at the moment I've got plenty of thread left, and I've got 2 thicknesses of thread going all the way through this sequence up to here, and I've got 2 thicknesses of thread going all the way up to this bit here and around the loop. But I know that I'd like it to be stronger than just 2 thicknesses. So I'm going to take the current needle, thread all the way back along here. I'm going to reinforce that, and then I'm going to attach the thread to the keeper bead and come all the way up here to reinforce that. I'm going to use the needle thread and do that reinforcement, then I'll show you about the keeper bead. So I took the needle thread from where it had emerged at the keeper bead all the way back along here, all the way back to here. I turned it by going through the 3 beads of the picot and back a bit, and I finished off the thread between the beads here, which gives me a nice neat finish. And I'm going to show you how to do a finish off on the keeper bead thread. So first of all we need to take the keeper bead off, and you should just be able to put the needle in and pull, and that's it coming off. Then we need to re-thread or thread the needle onto this end. And we've got 30-35 centimetres of thread here, so we've got plenty to come back up to here, reinforce the loop and come back down before we finish off. and every bead we pass through an extra time makes the design a little bit stronger. So I'm going back up through the beads towards the bead loop. And I'm going to go around the loop. That will give us 3 thicknesses of thread through the loop. Now if you wanted to do more, if you wanted to go around again, you could, but this isn't a particularly heavy necklace, so it doesn't need the extra pass of thread. Now I'm going to come back down the main strand and look for a place to make a knot. And I'm going to do one just here between these 2 seed beads. So I'm going to pass under the threads between the beads and pull through, so I leave a tiny loop, a loop that's still big enough to pass the needle through. And I pass through once, I pass through twice, gently pull, and the knot tightens onto the main thread between the beads. Let's go through a few more, and we're going to repeat that knot. So we pick up the threads between the beads, that needle is trapped on those threads, pull through, there's the little loop, pass through once, pass through twice, and I just need to make sure that the tail end comes through first, tighten the knot, and then we pass through a few more beads before we trim. There we go, and trim. For extra security, you can go back and just dab those little knots with some nail polish. But that is my finished apple necklace. Now to make the earrings, a head pin, seed bead at the bottom, apple bead, leaf, and I think 2 stalk beads. Oops, that one's won't fit. There we go. Now I could trim and loop there, or I could leave a stem. I think we're going to make the loop at the top of the seed beads. So trim, make the loop, and add your ear fitting. There we go, one little apple. Let's make the second apple. One of those, a leaf, 2 beads for the stalk, trim, make a loop, and twist open the loop on the ear fitting to complete your earrings. And there we have it, one fruity set of jewellery that's right on trend. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll give it a go. Bye bye.